resume recording. There you go. So we will start differentiating between the different kind of spectrum around how to process data and how to digest it and take decisions out of it, right? What is business analytics? Well, when we are talking about business analytics are nothing but the combination or a mix between skills, technologies or tools, and also the practice of iterative exploration or continuous exploration and investigation of the data and the performance, and not only the data. And by data, let's talk about historical records, nothing but transactions that have already happened. And we would like to understand how it went, what happened, right? It's kind of accounting, right? In accounting, what happens? You already spent the money. It's the reality. You already spent the money, and you try to be kind of you try to perform a scrutiny to use that money that you have in your accounts in the way that it was expected to be used, right? Let's say that you work into a company, you have your assets and your liabilities, and you have your working capital, right? The working capital is the one they're going to use to pay the debt, to pay wages, and I don't know, to make your company work, right? And usually that's the intention of a forecast, right? When you perform a forecast over the years, you think, okay, how much money we're about to earn. So based on the current money that you have, you need to take decisions about how you're expecting to get to the next level, right? So when we're talking about business analytics, it's nothing but take a look to the transactions that already took place, understand it, and not only that, once that you have understood what you have done, now what is going to happen? What are you going to do next? That's exactly what is business analytics meant for. Help you to it's kind of the mix between accounting and financials. Financials, it's taking advantage of powerful tools or powerful methodologies, mathematical methodologies to try to anticipate how is something gonna behave, right? Crystal clear so far? Okay, beautiful. So in other words, with business analytics would help you to understand what happened, what was our performance, identify specific insights, and also help you to drive your planning towards the future. That's the intention of business analytics. As you can see, it's not only to take a look to historical records, it's not only to understand what happened, but actually understand it, identify patterns, identify mistakes, identify good opportunities that actually we took, and replicate, avoid the mistakes, avoid the problems, and focus on actually the things that adds value to your business. That's the main intention of these methodologies. So pretty much it focuses on developing new insights. What it means, once that you have understood what happened, now it would help you using my statistical methods to anticipate how is that situation happen again, how to avoid it, or for those situations that we really want, like earnings, how are we planning to do? What are we planning to do for that to happen? But not only that, what's the likelihood to happen? Because it's not the same thing to say, okay, last year we earned $1 million. So in the previous year, the year before, we earned $900,000. The prior year, we earned $700,000 and so on and so forth. So we can see more or less there's a difference between 800 and 850, right? $1,000 difference. So we can think that next year we're about to earn at least $100,000. Makes sense, right? Based on historical records, makes sense. However, these kind of tools would let us know exactly or close to exactly how much we can earn based on those historical records, new patterns, new behaviors, and also would help us to identify what if scenarios. What if scenario means if I make a tweak into this investment. Let's say that instead of investing exactly the same amount for each one of the portfolios, what if I focus on those which actually have more likelihood to be successful? That's the main intention. Help you to identify what are the best decisions, more accurate, but also based on factors, based on historical records, and based on statistical methods that would help you to identify which one is more likelihood to happen. Okay. So, however, when we are talking about historical records, or when we're talking about business or the transactions that actually took place in the past, is descriptive analytics. Descriptive analytics is nothing but for something that actually already happened, describe it, right? Let's say that you have 1 million transactions and you can say, okay, for a product A, we invested $100 and we earned 100, I don't know, $150, for giving an example. However, for product B, we invested $1 million and we lost $200,000. What happened there? Right? You can describe that based on what have already happened. Right? You just focused on facts. For one product, we lost X amount. For another product, we earned Y amount. That's it. But it already happened. You are describing something that an event that took place in the past. So why numbers went up? Why sales went up? Why sales didn't go up at the level that we were expecting? Those are the questions that you are expecting to answer. So in order to do that, you use, as a complement, you use diagnostic analytics. So based on causation, why certain event occurred. It's when you start asking the whys, why this event occurred. It's the next step, right? Once that you have identified the data, you start asking the whys. So afterward, you start answering the whys. Some of those whys may have an answer. Some of others won't. That's why it's important to use other tools that would help you to identify all those whys that you cannot answer at the moment, right? So that's why, by taking a look again to diagnostic analytics, you focus on causation. Trigger, consequence. Action, consequence. That's it, right? Afterward, you identify the diverse data inputs. In other words, where is your data coming from? Whether the sources are trustworthy, does it come from the internet? Does it come from a paper? Does it come from an ERP system? Does it come, where does it come directly from the bank? Where is the information coming from, right? Afterward, once that you have identified the different sources, you perform you start hypothesizing. What it means that you start to identify or try to kind of to understand what are the different influences that each and one of the sources have in your final transaction, right? An example, imagine in your operation, right? You have a manufacturing company, and suddenly, there are only 3 ways to make money: with the operation, financing, and investing. Those are the only 3 ways that you can get money to make it work. No other ways, right? Do you agree? Financing, investing, and operation. What it means by operation means that you are using $1 million for producing something, and once that you sell it, you expect in return more than that. If you're not getting more than that, you are in a problem, right? But usually you get more money. One part of that you use it for paying wages, all the regular expenses that you have. Some of that part you give shares, right, for your investors, and there's a remaining amount that you need to reinvest in your own business. Why? Because you need to keep on growing your business. It's the nature of business. Make money. That's the only main intention for any business. Make money. That's it. Right? So based on that, you will start taking decisions. Which one is going to give you more money? Which one is making you lose money? And so on and so forth. But sometimes it's more based on guts. Do you know what guts is? Kind of based on feelings or based on experience. Because believe me, experience is something that no one can take from you. That it's a gift that you have built over years. But guess what? These tools, it's gonna be proof of concept about your feelings. You may think of, okay, we're gonna increase the revenue by $1 million. Guess what? Use these tools, and as a proof of concept, would give you the likelihood that you're right. So let's try that. And that's an exercise that I suggest you to take advantage of. Perform a forecast for your company, manual, the month or whatever time it takes you, and everywhere use these tools. And take a look to which one is closer to reality. Just prove it. Yeah. And afterward, send me an email about your findings. Would be amazing to hear from you. Afterward, you use the practical example. So you start considering different factors. So in order to understand future behaviors, because there are things that you cannot control and things that you can control. Your operation, you can control it. Financing, you can control it. Investments, you can control them somehow, right? And somehow by looking for investors, right? By increasing how trustworthy your company is and convincing someone to put money into your company. That's investing, right? Convince me about what you have. It's something that I cannot find anywhere else, right? Unfortunately, we don't have that session of rocket pitch. Else, I would love to show you how to help you a little bit with other tools about how to sell kind of more with more accuracy. Anyways, it's in another class. But take into account many different factors that you can take advantage of in order to increase the profitability of your company, right? However, as I told you, you have control about some factors such as marketing, such as investing, looking for more investors, and so on and so forth. But there are some others that you cannot control, such as weather, right? What if you have a ship that comes from China and suddenly there's a hurricane over the seas and the boat simply went right through the bottom of the sea? You have no control about it. You cannot control the weather, and that is something that may affect your business, right? That's why the idea of the next level of these tools that actually I'm going to show you is prediction. Prediction means based on statistical factors, what's the likelihood for something to happen? Let's say this time around. Now, in the past, we asked, okay, why didn't we achieve the goal? Guess what? With these tools, would let you know that maybe there was a hot summer, or maybe one product is making you lose money, or maybe one customer still owe you money, or a certain groups of customers still owe you money, and so on and so forth. What if the product life cycle of certain products it's simply has already passed by, in the sense that every single product has a life cycle, every single product. That's why iPhone and that's why Microsoft and all the companies sells you a new product more or less every 2 years. In technology, it's more or less the life cycle of a product. Sometimes it's 6 months. I mean, if you bear in mind that when do you think that the new iPhone is coming across? I anticipate, I mean, it's top of mind. I have no idea when the last one came, but I think it was back in the day in September, I think, the iPhone 15. I think the iPhone 16 will come perhaps April. April. That means that the life cycle has been reduced in 6 months, right? So this is something that you need to bear in mind. You need to have seasonality. You need to bear in mind what are the different factors that may affect your transaction, your results, and so on and so forth. Everything can be included as part of these kind of tools to predict the unpredictable. This is all awesome. So in other words, prescriptive analytics. Prescriptive analytics is nothing to describe in detail the different factors in detail, about what exactly happened, what exactly affected your entire world of data, and what exactly could help you to predict the unpredictable and help you to take smarter decisions, right? So that's exactly the main idea of this kind of tools. So in summary, for business analytics focused on an organization changes that already happened in the past, right? Data takes in front of a seat of this approach And the key is to use the right statistical methods to identify all the things that happen or all the dimensions. Let's call them dimensions. Dimensions are nothing like products, customers, suppliers, markets, countries, or everything that you can label in order to identify the transaction that took place. Example, one dimension can be customer, another dimension country, and the other dimension 2024. 2024, right? So in other words, with the combination of the three of them, you can include transactions, can be sales, right? For a specific product during 2024 in the entire year for a specific customer. Let's say if you sold me something and you can track how many transactions it took for me and how many products I bought from you. That's nothing but the dimensionality to understand, to turning data into information. Data, millions of dollars. Information, when you include dimensions, to segregate the data and understand what is the data about. Millions of dollars for a specific product for a specific customer. Okay. However, However, once that you have on now that you have the transactions, now that you have understood what happened, now that you have understood how many transactions took place, and now that you understood more likely what is going to happen, guess what? There are more complicated or more sophisticated algorithms like neural networks that can help you to also, on despite of not having historical records, can help you to identify patterns and also anticipate about something to happen in the future. Let me give you an example. Neural networks are being used, for instance, um, for COVID detection in a radiography. Let's say that you don't have to do all the tests. You only take a radiography or your lungs and you take it to this algorithm. It can detect based on patterns whether you may be likely to have COVID or not. That's it. Or maybe any other illness like pneumonia or maybe other illness, right? Maybe you just smoke a lot and maybe you can have something else, right? So the neural networks use these images to identify patterns and let you know whether something is in good shape or not, right? I'm designing, for instance, one algorithm for cars detection because in the manufacturing companies, the quality and visual inspection takes too long and too many people taking that. So instead, I designed an algorithm that actually takes a 360 degrees image video and detects whether that vehicle or that car has a defect or not, and is using neural networks. So this is very powerful because it saves you a lot of time, and also it saves you a lot of complaints from customers, which is the main intention. Okay. Is there any questions so far? Questions, comments? How do you find it? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Do you want me to change a little bit the way that I teach the class? I don't know. Let me know. What do you think about it? Questions? Comments? Anything?
No.
No, come on. You are a too quiet group. Just
I'm
kidding.
just amazed with all the applications that we can develop with these kind of models.
Wonderful. And this is only the tip of the iceberg. As long as you go through other algorithms and examples, you'll get really amazed, or I hope that you'll get real amazed about how many applications that you can have around this. So that's it, yeah. Oh, now you may wonder, okay, Fer, what's the difference between business intelligence and business analytics, right? Or maybe what if any one of you can answer this question? I already told it twice, maybe more than that. But what do you think, or maybe give me an analogy about the difference between business intelligence and business analytics?
I believe business intelligence is taking in account all these models to predict future facts.
Mhm.
And business analytics is only focused on past um, events in order to know why happened what happened.
Okay, that's interesting. Actually, it's backwards, the other way around. But you're right. You're right. Actually, you are totally right. You answered the question, but let's go through the full explanation. But I think most of you have now a clear idea about what I'm talking about. So thank you very much for the comment. That's exactly the intention of this particular session. So business intelligence and business analytics. Business intelligence pretty much focused on a traditional set of metrics. Let's say that you have your key performance indicators. Are all of you familiarized with key performance indicators or KPIs? It's kind of the more common name. Pretty much is measuring performance. A KPI is nothing but a key performance indicator, just its name is telling you what it does. It's like a red light, right? And a traffic light, better said, a traffic light. If you are in a good shape, maybe the key performance indicator, it's you have a target. Let's say you are expecting to sell $1 million in 1 year. However, you know that there's a likelihood of not achieving the goal. There's a likelihood of exceeding the goal, right? So in that case, you establish thresholds. A threshold is nothing but what is acceptable for something, what is not acceptable, and what is horrible, right? For instance, for that $1 million, if you say, okay, if I earn between $900,000 and $1,100,000, we are in a good shape. So that means it's a plus minus $100, correct? However, if something is between $800,000 and $900,000, it's not that cool, it's not that nice, but it's acceptable. It's not fire alarm. We're not running in circles yet. It's only kind of something that is leading me to know that something is not right at that point. However, if it were less than $700,000, we are in a problem. So it's a red. So those are kind of the thresholds. I mean, it's a silly example, but usually you use either percentage of you use million of dollars or units. I mean, the most common is percentage, the second most common is dollars, and the last one is it can be combination of many, right? So that's exactly a key performance indicator. So in other words, if let's say that by the end of the month, we expect to sell $1 million. So by the 15th day of the month, we're expecting to have at least half of that. Am I right? At least. But what happens if we have less than that? That means that we have a problem. So the key performance indicator is letting me to understand that something is not right. Crystal clear so far? Good.
Yes.
Beautiful. So in this case, BI focused on what happened in the past and somehow how it happened, letting it know or letting us know about the momentum where we are at now. So, however, it can help us if it's properly developed, it can help us to understand some whys about something happened. Let's say if we have a chart, a pie chart, we can see the combination, for instance, of products, right? And what's the weight for the revenue for each one of the products? Or maybe customers, we can identify how many transactions per customer with a single chart and so on and so forth. So it can help us to identify the overall of big trends, but not specific patterns. Because big trends is something that we can visually see. We can see that we sold $1 million, but we don't know why we didn't sell $1,500,000, right? Those are kind of the things that BI cannot answer so far. That's why it's important that we need to use other tools such as business analysis to understand some of the whys, try to break down the different factors that are involving to those into those goals, and try to identify which one is the one that did not achieve the goal or the one that actually did not help us to achieve the goal, And that's why we need to focus on that particular problem. In other words, it will help us to identify the root cause of a particular problem. Because one BI will help us to identify the symptoms. We didn't achieve the goal, but business analytics may help us to identify the problem. The problem can be that a specific customer has not paid in 5 years, right? It has a kind of a running debt that has not been paid in a while and nobody noticed. Has it ever happened to you that you have a problem that is being carried over years and no one has seen it or no one has noticed it? Has it happened to you or in your companies? Do you have one example, the one that you may want to share with us? No? No worries. It's part of the class, right? Sometimes you may want to have a comment, sometimes you doesn't. You don't. Don't worry. So, okay. When we are talking about BI and BA tools, well, business intelligence focused on reporting, analyze data such as Tableau, such as Power BI, such as Oracle Analytics, such as MicroStrategy, such as ClickSense, such as what are other tools? Sisense, also Grafana. What other tools? What BI tools do you use? Maybe Tableau. Most of you may use Tableau or Power BI or Oracle
Yes.
Analytics are the most commonly used. Do you use any other?
No, in my case, it's Power BI. That's the most common that I use.
Yeah,
Maybe Access also.
Access, yeah, Access, but Access is mostly used kind of instead of a database, it's kind of a smaller database. But yeah, you can actually use Access, which is close to be using a really powerful Excel, right? It's kind of in the middle between Excel and Power BI. It's kind of the comparison. But yeah, Access is very powerful and can help you to create queries to understand some of historical records or transactions. But yeah, you're right. So as you can see, business intelligence focused on reporting. Reporting is nothing but kind of accounting. Take a look to the past. However, BA or whereas BA focused on multiple tools that can perform other statistical methods that can help you to identify hidden patterns to predict something to happen in the future. That would be the difference between BI and business analytics. Okay. For instance, the different usage between BI and business analytics, business intelligence and business analytics, BI is mostly using to performance. What happened, what's happening, and also try to describe what's going on. However, business analytics can help it, based on that same data, can help you to understand unexplored relationships, predict how is those relationships going to affect the entire model, and try to prescribe. Prescribe is nothing but giving you the root cause or the closest to be the root cause of something. Let's imagine a key performance indicator, which is BI, is telling you that the revenue is not being achieved. However, business analytics is telling you that 5 products that were your start products are not being sold in UK as it was expected as part of the plan. Well, it's more detailed, right? It's more specific. It's more providing you more hints. And also, business analysts can let you know how much, what's the relationship, which one of the products has the most likelihood for not being sold, and so on and so forth. So that's the main intention. It gives you, you can explore as much data as you want with these kind of tools. You explore it. Imagine that you are, I don't know, Cristobal Colon back in the day in 1542, right? For 1492, I'm sorry, 1492, and you just arrived to the Americas, and you simply start kind of trying to find out everything, right? Or maybe imagine that you're a child during Christmas and you go to the toy store, right? Immediately you start exploring exactly what you're looking for, right? What you would like to order to the next Christmas and so on and so forth. It's kind of that's why when I work with my people, I let them know Fer, they tell me, Fer, how can I solve this? And so I give some hints, but afterward, I let them know, be a kid, be a child, be curious, ask the questions, ask the foolish questions that you may think of. When you start asking questions, all the questions that you may think of is when actually you start finding out that those questions are not silly anymore, because those are helping you to identify patterns that no one wonders in their lives. So that is something really nice about these tools. Those help you to think as a kid, kind of asking the silly questions, asking the simple questions that eventually become more powerful. So, for instance, in this case, what are the applications? Well, in one of the applications for business intelligence is your enterprise resource planning, right? Understand how much you have received in money, how many orders you got, how many purchases you have, how many products you have shipped, how many products were sold, how many products were paid, and so on and so forth. However, what if you want to use business analytics to understand patterns? How much are your customers gonna buy the next month? How much product you need to create now onwards? How much product, how much you have to increase that demand? What if you start analyzing which customers will start buying you more and which customers will start buying you less? And so on and so forth. What other pattern would you like to identify with these methodologies? What other pattern you may think of?
Maybe if production decreases according to the season of the year, the
Beautiful.
weather.
Exactly. Amazing. What about quality? For quality, it can
Yeah.
help as well. Quality, yeah, I mean, whatever you can think of that can happen will happen. So that's why you need to start measuring it and try to anticipate to that and predict and prevent something bad to happen and push, endorse, and evolve in order to the good things to happen. That's exactly the main intention of these tools. So this is kind of a quick chart to show you the difference between business intelligence and business analytics. Business intelligence collects, analyzes, and visualizes data, identifies pain points between quotes, because pain points is not all the time is visible, right? It's not visual 100% of the time. Anyways, let's put it like both help. Reporting. It helps you to report the historical data that happens to show it into fashionable manner. Charts, tables, whatever you may think of. Afterward, descriptive analytics. I mean, in the case of business intelligence, why do you think that business intelligence helps you to descriptive analytics, but business analytics doesn't? Why do you think that would be the difference? Let me give you a hint. To describe something, you need to have historical records. For business intelligence, for business intelligence to exist, you must have historical records, always. However, in business analytics, it's not required to have historical records. By a single group of transactions that may happen just now, you can start predicting what is going to happen based on those hints. That's why here you cannot see, you don't require historical records for business analytics. Another one, diagnostic analytics. For diagnosing something, it means that something diagnosed, it's a consequence for something that happened in the past, right? So it's related. You need to have historical records to diagnose something. That's why BI requires, it only helps or only has diagnostic analytics, BI, but business analytics doesn't, because we don't have not necessarily have historical records. Crystal clear? And well, BI doesn't have predictive analytics nor prescriptive, because it requires some mathematical methods and statistical methods in order to perform those predictions and prescriptions. Prescription is nothing but, okay, once that we have described the data, the prediction is that event is likely to happen, and prescriptive is, okay, if it's going to happen, guess what? Let me tell you how to prevent it. That's the difference between the three of them. Descriptive tells you what happened in the past. Diagnostics tells you in detail what happened in the past. Predictive tells you the likelihood to happen one more time, and prescriptive lets you know how to avoid it in case it were something bad or how to make it better in case it were something good. Better now? Good.
Professor,
Yes.
I have a question
Yes,
here.
please should.
It's just that in the business that I work,
Mhm.
sometimes we have a lot of issues about the out of stocks that we have suffered during the year. So for example, for that cases, I think that applies business analytics because it's something that we need to predict because sometimes we don't know a lot of issues that we have in the supply area. So that could apply.
Exactly. That's a beautiful example. And actually, if you have the time, after the class, try to use one of those data sets that you use for that analysis for your historical records, and try to apply any of the models that you will learn along. And also, what if we have a separate session and together we explore that data, and I can help you to figure out in more detail how to use these tools with more advantage to try to identify those patterns. That way I can prove to you that whatever you are learning here is so helpful in your real world. Does it sound like a good plan for you?
Yeah, sounds perfect.
Sounds like a plan. Count on me. I'm on. So
Thank you.
that my pleasure. That's the main intention of these tools to make it helpful. For instance, this is one example of that would be a dashboard in BI, right? It's kind of because to be honest with you, 90% of the companies do not use their BI tools at the level that they must be using it. Honestly, usually companies use the tabular view, which is nothing but a fancy Excel, right? You see columns and rows, and that's it. The idea of using BI tools is to take advantage of all the visuals and capabilities that the tool offers in order to turn those tabular views into something more meaningful. What if we can count about the conversion rate of the recruitment? For instance, here we're measuring who is the best recruiter based on the amount of candidates that we have. We can see that N is nothing but the best recruiter because he has a 12% conversion rate. Conversion rate means out of 100 people that we receive resumes or we interview, only 12% of them are being hired, which is very low. But it is what it is. I mean, I interview hundreds of people a year, and I only hire around 10 of them. So it's normal. It's kind of a good average. But also, we can count about the average cost of hiring senior levels. As you can see, for juniors, well, it's kind of the smallest amount. The mid-level is higher, but the seniority, of course, as more you know, as more your knowledge cost. Like it is what it is. Experience has its cost. If I want to hire someone who actually knows everything, I need to pay more money, right? That's someone who actually is a junior or a new joiner. So it's part of it. Recurring funnel, as you can see here, for instance, out of the 267 applications, there were only 134 interviews. Out of them, 48 were assessed and only 26 people were hired. As you can see, we can measure whatever. If you want to fix something, you need to measure it. That's the rule. That's a rule everywhere. if you want to fix something, you have a problem, in order to solve it, measure it. Start by measuring it. Once that you measure, understand it. And once that you understand, try to take decisions. However, it's not an easy way. First, tracking data is really hard. Processing the data is really hard. And not even imagine about taking a look to this. I mean, takes time, takes experience, takes so many things to get at this point, right? Afterward, the turnover rate by age groups, right? So we can see that most of the people has less than 25 years, and pretty much only 16% is between 26 and 35 years old that were actually, I'm sorry, this is nothing to identify the range of people who actually is leaving the company. It's the attrition, to identify the levels of attrition based on age. Sometimes it's based on age, sometimes based on gender, sometimes it's based on income. I mean, there are many different factors where you can measure attrition, but attrition is one of the top offenders for every single company. And we try to avoid it. Retention, it's important for the companies. Keep the people happy. People happy works better. That's simply a mantra everywhere. Someone which is happy works better. So that it's the mantra that I have in my company. That's why I have zero attrition in the past 5 years. Zero attrition in the past 5 years. So why? Because I try to make them happy. Usually it's very easygoing environment. If they make a mistake, I help them to fix them. So that's the main intention, right? I mean, there are many different things, right? Which includes salary, which includes benefits, includes working environment, includes good leadership, includes many things, right? It's not that easy as by saying, oh yeah, I'm a good person, that's why they kept here. No, we need to mix among different values. And I use machine learning to identify what are the factors that are more likely to retain people. And it has helped me. 5 years with zero attrition. So that's why I'm telling you, I use these algorithms. I know how those work. And I can tell you that those would help you a lot. Okay, so for instance, the average time to fill by department, this is something else, right? When you are hiring for manufacturing or when you are hiring for operations for different areas, it may cost you or it may take you longer depending upon the role, the profile, the background, the skills, and so on and so forth, right? So you need to measure everything. So let me see where we at in the presentation to see whether we need to take a break. You may wonder, come on, Fernando, you must know your presentation. Guess what? I changed it. We changed the entire program. I just redesigned it. So that's why it's important to kind of have all these measures because as per we redesigned this program, we need to I need to readapt to it. Just let me take a look little quick what is gonna be the last one. Okay, this is the last one, the 36 that we're gonna take a look. What if in 7 more minutes, let's take 10-minute break. Do you agree? Beautiful, beautiful. Why? We have too much content to cover. That's why you may say, oh, come on, Fer, we need more rest. Yeah, I know. But remember, this is only 1 month class. So we need to take advantage of every single minute that we have for your learning experience. So let's slideshow from current slide. There you go. Okay, 7 more minutes. Trust me. So in this case, this dashboard would help us to find the right recruitment approach. What it means to find the best candidates. And by the best candidates means the people who actually has the right level for the work that needs to be done, and also at the right cost that actually are gonna stay in the company as much as we can retain them. That's kind of the 3 things that we need to bear in mind. Because what happens if you hire the wrong person? I mean, hiring is very expensive. Very, very expensive. Because that means that you have a role unfulfilled first. That means inefficiencies in your operation. That's the first thing. That's why you hire someone else. That's why you hire a new person. Maybe someone resigns and you need to fulfill that position, right? That means Once that the person tells you that it's going to leave the company, usually 2 weeks only, 2 weeks notice, that person lets you know that it's about to leave the company. Immediately you start the hiring process, right? You reach out to HR and let them know, I need someone with this and this and this and this and this and that, right? This role, these responsibilities, this background, this education, these tools, and so on and so forth. Then the HR department, the recruitment people start in LinkedIn or any sources that they may have, their database, and start looking for those positions, for those roles, for those people, right? Once that they have identified certain candidates, they need to call them and ask them, are you interested on this job, right? And afterward, they get the yes or the no. Afterward, they need to go for the interviewing process, right? After the interviewing process, suddenly someone receives an offer. That person accepts the offer. How long do you think that has passed already? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? It can be any scenario, actually, right? It took you, let's think on the best case scenario, 2 months to hire someone. Suddenly, that person is performing, is doing, we have their a duality. Either the person is performing well or not. If the poor person is not performing well, what are you gonna do? Okay, fine. What if the person is performing well and the person suddenly leaves after 2, 3, 4, or 6 months? You need to repeat the same process over and over again. It's very expensive. If you think about money, time is money. And in hiring process, that's a reality because that means an unfulfilled position. That means that someone is not producing because all of us are producing. That's why we are in a job. We are making money for a company. That's it. I mean, they are not manufacturing companies, nothing like that. They are hiring us because we make more money than they want that they pay. But anyways, so that's why we can use these kind of tools to try to anticipate those kind of situations, to hire faster, to identify the best candidates, and also the best candidates that are going to remain into the company in the long term. So the next question is why it happened and why, and the way you see it is in the dashboard. So that's why you need to understand that this is kind of giving you the facts, but you may start wondering the whys, right? Why do we have why, Anna, it's only hiring 12 people compared with Teresa, right? What's the know-how that Anna has that Teresa does not, right? Those are kind of the questions that you may wonder. What other question you may wonder here? One another example. No,
Where
you're
is
not that
the
curious.
seniority? Where is the seniority level of every one of between Anna, Jacob, and Teresa?
That's a very good question, right? Maybe Anna has longer tenure in the company, more experience, right? Maybe she has been a recruiter for so many years, and maybe Teresa is just a new joiner, actually a fresher from school, right? That's a very good question, and we may wonder why only 10% of the applications are being actually hired. Why? Why only 10%? Why not 20% or 50% or 100%, right? Okay, the 100% would be, well, because we don't have 267 positions, Fernando. Come on, be honest. Okay, what if we have 30 positions opened and we are hiring only 26? I mean, we have a problem there. And what if we have 100 positions and we are only hiring 26? I mean, those are kind of the whys we need to elaborate while we go through this, right? And we may wonder other questions and so on and so forth, right? So that's why it's important to start asking the whys. So let's say that the average time to fill a position by department, it's in days. And it didn't go as planned. Let's say that we have an open position and we are planning to hire a person in 30 days, but it's taking us 45, or it's taking us 60, or it's taking us 90. It's where actually we need to start wondering why we are not achieving the goal because as more it takes us to hire someone, as more risk we have as a company for not achieving goals. So as you can see, everything in the company or every single decision has a relationship, has a collateral. If you are missing someone, it is affecting a chain. If you are not hiring the right person, it is affecting a chain. And it ends up in money, right? Everything must be measured in money. If you want to convince someone to take a decision, turn it into money. You can earn $800,000 if you take this decision. Oh, wow, now you have my attention, right? But if you say, no, this decision is good, and it's like, why, right? I mean, you are forcing me to invest something. Remember that every single decision is an investment, right? And everyone actually is trying to make a decision, expects a return of investment. So as higher, as more likelihood someone to get the buy-in for your idea. That's why it's important that each time you want to sell an idea, turn it into dollars. Turn it into dollars. If you do this, you're going to save this amount of money. If you do that, you're going to earn this amount of money. And that's it. Translate it into, maybe you can translate it into time, because time is money as well, right? But anyways, it's you can use either time or money, but always focus on that. So that's why it's important to bear in mind that these tools will help you to answer the whys. It is important to ask the right questions. Why we didn't achieve the goal? Why is this person leaving the company? Why is this person not getting salary increase over years? Why is this person not achieving the productivity? Why is this product not achieving the goal of sales? And so on and so forth. So another example, you have used your historical data and connected into the present moment and found that you are losing resources, right? The average cost of hiring will help you to determine the patterns that are occurring as part of the recurring cycle. So in other words, measure how much it costs you to hire someone. And once that you identify how much it costs you, divide it by time. So as more it takes you to hire someone, as more money as you're losing if you don't hire the right person. Again, translate everything into money, and believe me, you'll get the buy-in when you try to sell an idea. So any other questions that you may wonder? What products have been most successful in the past? The seasonal trends that have influenced success of the past launches of new products. Why customers bought the past successful products but have not bought other products, and so on and so forth. Those are kind of the examples that you may want to wonder, and you would like to answer it. So tools and BI skills. There you go. Okay, we will cover this topic, and afterward we will go through the recess. Okay. Current slide. Okay. So when we are talking about what are the skill sets required for business analysis, first the profile, right? Which is the idea of taking the tasks of processing business data, performing analytical processes, and understand what's going on with the data, right? It can be a business analyst, it can be a data scientist, it can be all those kind of profiles. Actually, if you are interested on what are the skill sets required for your companies, in case you wanted to hire a business analyst or a business intelligence developer or a machine learning developer or a data scientist, just let me know and I can share some of the profiles that are the most common in the market in case you don't have one. Because data scientist is the less common in companies. Business intelligence engineers and business analysts are the most common. The business intelligence engineer is in charge of building the dashboards and analysis. The business analyst is the one in charge of analyzing that data, identify trends, and help you to take decisions. And the data scientist is the one that will help you to predict what is going to happen based on that historical records that you currently have. And also, that person must have statistical skills and mathematics. describe and infer statistics, and help with experiments in order to anticipate what the what-if scenario. Let's say, what-if scenario, if you invest more money into another product, what would be the likelihood to earn X amount of money? However, if you use the same amount of money into a different product, what's the likelihood to earn Z amount of money? That's kind of the idea or the approaches that this person would help you to identify where to invest your money to get the most profitability as possible. Crystal clear? Also, for a business analyst requires programming skills, mostly R, SAS, SQL, and or Python. Actually, most of the models that I develop, it's in Python. However, Python and R have different approaches. R is mostly focused on business analysis. However, Python is more robust, where actually you can build web pages, APIs, and so on and so forth. So that would be the difference. R is focused primarily on statistical analysis and the data scientist analysis, and other tools may help with something else. SQL is the structured query language, is the one being used for extracting data out of the databases. Usually, when you have a database, you use SQL to extract the data using an ETL tool, and afterward you use R or Python to analyze that data. Or you build models and you use them using BI tools like Power BI or Tableau and so on and so forth. And data wrangling skills, because one thing is knowing how to build a query, but data wrangling skills means you understand the business and you know how to describe your business using the data that you currently have in your database or in your data source, right? Also, other skills is communication skills, which is usually is the most difficult one. Is the most difficult one. How to communicate something smartly, how to communicate something clear, how to communicate something in the fashion that can help someone to take a decision. It's very, very hard. Actually, this is the one that I struggle the most with my engineers. That's why I give them classes about rocket pitch, how to present in public. I spent a lot of time helping them how to present for a CEO, how to present into public speaking, and so on and so forth. Those are kind of the skills that actually help my team to develop and are very important because they can be very smart analyzing the data. But if you don't have the mindset to show it in a fashionable manner and understandable manner, it doesn't worth it. Doesn't worth it. That's why it's important to bear in mind that you need to explain the things in a very simple way that anyone can understand it, because something understandable helps you to take decisions. And also another skill which is not exactly that needed, it's unstructured data. Unstructured data is like, for example, a flat file, a notepad, a text, or something that does not have columns and rows. That would be kind of the explanation of unstructured data. Usually the big data, which is called big data, is nothing but algorithms that can read a file. That's kind of in simple words, right? Nevertheless, it's more complex than that, of course, because are thousands and millions of files that can be processed by big data. That's why it's called big data. So, and afterward, machine learning skills, which is nothing but the ones that you're gonna learn along the way about how to apply clustering, regression, classification, convolutional neural networks, and so on and so forth. That is machine learning. And platform knowledge, because all these algorithms may be run into a platform. In this case, I'm going to show you R, but R, it's a local platform. However, most of the there are many different suppliers such as Hadoop, Hive, or big platforms that actually have these same interfaces but connected to the cloud. So you have the interface over the internet, you upload your data sets, and you process the data pretty much in the same fashion that I'm going to show you here. Okay, what if we take actually wow, just in time. So let's take 10 minutes break. Let's return back by 10 minutes after 8. right? And let's keep continuing. I'll remain here to answer any question or concerns that you may have. So please take your 10 minutes break and see you in 10 minutes. Thank you very much. Let me pause the recording. Okay, here we go. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Just please raise your virtual hand if you're back. Your virtual hand, like the one, your icon. There you go. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. I can see like 3% of 40% have returned back. Okay, let's continue with the class. Why? Because it's important to cover all the topics, and these ones are the basics of art. So we need to bear in mind that that's why it's so important, this class. I give you all the basics. Nevertheless, there's asynchronous material that you can have access to, which pretty much contains deeper explanation of what I'm doing here. Here I'm focusing on the most important piece, but the asynchronous material that I actually shared some links with you over the email. So those are kind of examples of the asynchronous material, but I'll show, actually, what if I showed you just now? I think, let me take a look to Canvas. Let me go there. Let me show you how to access that material. If it wanted to, let me take, I had it open somewhere. Here we go. There we go. Okay. If you had gone through your class, you have a couple of things. The first one, well, the homepage contains all the details about most of the stuff, right? Like the link to access and so on and so forth. You have here the general syllabus, right? For all the topics that we're about to cover. You have access to bibliography, which pretty much contains the suggested books that we found that can be helpful for you. And some information about myself. Here you find the syllabus. But the most important thing about this, if you go to modules, here in modules, you'll be able to see, if you go to decision one, here you'll be able to find some asynchronous content, which would give you, for instance, how to install RStudio, right? Or maybe introduction to the session, which means that what's exactly what is expected, what are the topics that we're going to cover, and things like that. So that's why it's important that you can navigate through your materials. And again, assignments, modules, in modules here. Let's say that you would like to know what you have to learn prior to the class. So here you'll be able to see what you expected for you to learn, some information about a book that may take you to some information about what's the topic about, right? So this book, you have it available, so you must be able to read it through. So in case, let's say that I give you an explanation and you want to know it in more detail, here you have all the information about it, either a book or maybe a specific chapter that you can take a look here, right? That you can go through, that may explain you the logistics regression, what it means, right? Like for instance, I will give you an example here. This is the mathematical, the probability that something, the likelihood to happen, because you have in machine learning, you have a dependent and independent variable, right? By variable, we are talking about a placeholder. A variable is nothing but a placeholder. Let's say, let's call this one X, right? So when someone says, okay, a variable is nothing but a placeholder, which means something that can take any value. In this case, let's say that this variable is 1000, right? Now we know that X stands for 1000. That's exactly what we are doing, right? So, however, we have a dependent and independent variable. What we are saying here, let's say that X, a horrible color I chose, okay, X is equal. I'm sorry, my best skill is is Paintbrush. So this is the best skill that I have ever developed. So please don't criticize me for that. But I'll try to use it not that much. But let's imagine here that we have x equal to y plus plus 2. Plus 2. Okay, okay. Here, what we are saying that x is equal to y plus 2. Equal to y plus 2. Which one is the independent and which one is dependent variable?
Y is the independent and X is dependent.
You don't need me here. I quit. You are totally right. Why? Because let me give you an example. That's an amazing answer you gave. Let me give you an example here. That's a beauty. It's that clear for everybody? Okay, I'll explain it in a different fashion. Which one changes when the other one changes in here?
So X will change when Y changes.
Exactly, because
That's why it
why?
depends on
Exactly.
Y value.
I think you're gonna be the next teacher. I think I'll quit. You take the class. Yeah, that's exactly what is going on here. Here's telling us X depends on Y. Because up to this point, I don't know, neither of those, how much is one of them? I have no idea, right? However, what if I try with random values? However, if I assign X a value number 1, that is not an equality. Does it make sense? How can we make it an equality? What if we assign Y a value, or again, that color, what's wrong with me? Let's say that Y is 2 equal to, maybe use the other one, equal to 2. Now, how much or what's the size of X? Okay,
4.
there you go. There you go. For instance, this is X and this is 1. So let me give here a value. Let's say, let me include some things here. Like for instance, it's gonna be scale, something like that. Right? Okay, there you go. So now we know that Y is equal to 2, right? So Y is 1, 2. Here's the 2, right? Correct? Here's the 2. Now let's include the scale for X. Right? While Y is 2, let's put another color here. Y is 2. How much is X gonna be? Until here, right? Something like that. And let's complete the entire relationship. Can you see the relationship now? And what is gonna happen if Y is equal to 3? Y is equal to 3. Y equals, let's use the other keyboard, to 3. How much is X gonna be?
5.
5. There you go. There you go. So same thing here. I mean, Y is 3. So, and we continue, and so on and so forth, right? Something like that. As you can see, my paintbrush skills are the best ones, better than coding. So actually, perhaps we can trace a line, right, in here. Let's take this example, right? Like something like this, perhaps like this. And we can continue in the same fashion over and over again. That's why we are saying that it's a linear model, right? Because while those cross is pretty much the same pattern over and over again. That's why we are saying X is dependent to Y. Crystal clear? What it stands for dependency here. Why is it important here? Because dependency, it's something basic to understand machine learning. Why? Because usually every single model has dependency of some other factors that we need to identify and understand how those behave over the time. That's the main focus. Right? Let me see whether I start recording because sometimes I tend to forget. Yeah, it's recording. Beautiful. So there you go. So actually, in case you have a question or concern about specific topic that I'm describing, here you can take a look to those materials and understand the sigmoid function is the one that it is used for logistics regressions to understand whether a value is valid or not. So it must, let's say that, do you remember that I told you about the fraud detection? Something that goes above $500,000, it's something that should be detected as a fraud. That's kind of the example. So if something is $1,000, won't be triggered. Something that is $2,000 won't be triggered. However, what about something $5,000 and one? Of course, will be triggered and perhaps identified as a fraud. That's why it's called sigmoid function. But anyways, I would like to explain all the math behind the scenes because it would take us a little bit longer to understand it. But yes, in case you have a question or a concern, please take a look to these materials. It would help you to identify all the values that are behind the scenes or all the materials that would help you to understand the topic a little bit better and to explain it even better. Believe me, it took me years to learn all this. You learned a lot in a single month that would help you to start taking decisions. Just imagine the value of that. It has taken me around 10 years to understand this. So we have summarized it for you and digested for you in order to make it a little bit more understandable that you can start using just now, right? So in case you require to also in case you require a format and so on and so forth, everything is here. Right? Also, in case you have a question, I'll open the discussion here. Like for instance, if you want to ask a question about a specific topic, you can include it into here and we can answer along the way and keep the track for everybody. And so on and so forth. Also, the syllabus. The syllabus is important. Sorry, let me give you how am I planning to grade your this is another thing. What's the criteria for evaluation, right? This is important. Just let me take a look where is I think I sent it over email. Okay, you know what? I sent it over email, but before going to that, please start taking a look to your final assignment. I suggest you to start working on it. Why? Because whatever you are learning through, you'll need to start using it from day one. Why? Because first, well, today you don't have to worry about it, but from next class onwards, you need to start thinking about how you are planning to tackle this. For instance, in this class, when we start importing a file, I suggest you to start doing that. This is the file that we're going to use for this final assignment. The final assignment, I designed it so you'll take movies. You'll take movies that took place last year. So based on those movies, imagine that you are an investor and you are choosing who is the director or the movie that you are planning to invest next that you expect to get as much return of investment than others. There are 100 movies, so you need to choose 5, 10, any amount of movies that actually will give you the highest return of investment based on your budget, right? So this is the final assignment that you need to work on. So pretty much you use that file. Actually, I said top 10 movies. That's fine. Collect the data and perform. You'll use different dimensions like gender, rating, likes, as long as you start learning along the class, you'll learn some of these statistical methods. You'll start applying them. But I suggest you to start from now. Else, you would have a really short time to perform this huge project. It has some extra dots. It's not required all these dots. But as part of the deliverables are three things. First, a Word document where you have the introduction, what process you followed, how much you are planning to invest, and what's the criteria that you used, and also what are the takeaways that you took out of the data. And last but not least, you need to create a PowerPoint with a speech about to convince me why we should invest into those 10 movies. So you need to include, let's say, the key performance indicators, the return of investment, the forecast. If you included a nonlinear regression, taking into consideration seasonality, everything, it's important, right? I mean, this is a criteria that we are going to use, and also this is the specific topics that you need to cover as part of that final assignment. The idea is that you can start asking questions via email or at the end of the class, but just wanted to highlight that please start working on this because it's a lot of work for only a couple of days. But if you start now, it's gonna be really easy and seamless for you. Questions so far? No, right? Until you read it. So no worries about it. That's fine. So, and I think yeah, let's take a look to the to everything. It won't include the final exam, so don't worry about it. It will include only the assignments that I gotta send to you, and those are gonna be graded along the way. So let me see whether let me show you here what's the grading criteria. Policy syllabus evaluation. Here we go. For the evaluation, oh, where is that at? It was not included. So I need to fix it because the evaluation must be here, but it does not appear. So let me include it.
Professor,
But-
maybe modules, I saw it, so I'm not sure you can see the same view. So you go to modules.
To modules, let me check.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Modules, here we go. Evaluation, here we go. Oh, beautiful. Actually, this is, I need to link that particular URL to that particular one. But each class, you'll have one exercise that you need to deliver. So class participation is really important. That means that you ask questions, you provide clarification. Every participation that you have, it's important. So class attendance, of course, is important because if you're not in class, how do you expect to get the participation, so on and so forth. You'll have 7 assignments, right? That you'll have available within assignments here, 1 per week. And afterward, the final project, which actually is 40%, the one that I showed you is 40% of your grade. And individual co-evaluation, because all the work needs to be done in teams. So you are going to evaluate your teammates, which is important. I don't believe in the purely individual work. All of us work into a company, and all of us have a piece of work that need to be accomplished. Nevertheless, you work into a team that at the end of the day, the mix of all efforts is the final results that needs to be delivered to the customer. Crystal clear? So you build your teams and just let me know who are the people, and I'll open it here, people. I'll create 5 teams, and you'll be able to assign yourself to one of the teams. It's something that I'm gonna do for the next class. Okay, let's return back to the topics. So is there any other questions so far? Well, you haven't had
Yeah,
any,
is there any limitation or restriction for the number of members that the team should have?
that's a very good question. I would say I think we are around 22. We are around 20 people. So have you worked together before? And you have had teams,
Yes.
Yes.
correct?
we have.
More or less would be between 4 and 5 people. Correct?
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there you go. So please go for it. If you have not worked with any of these team members before, please let me know and I can assign you to a team. But okay. let's return back to the presentation. I'll focus into one particular topic and just close it out, and I'll continue with the interface and show you the basic of R. So, okay, why to use R? First, scalability. Why to use R compared with other tools? For instance, Excel or Access or PurePaper, right? Those are the advantages that you can find as using R. First, scalability. Scalability means that you are not limited to the amount of records that Excel can give you. You can have Excel, you can have any source, and you can have as many files and as many records as you may think of. Millions. You can process millions of records without any limit. That's the first thing. Second, reproducibility. Reproducibility. That means that once that you have developed the code, you can reuse it over and over again. You just need to change the name of the file, or maybe you need to change the amount of data that you're including, but the same code can be reused over and over and over again. You don't have to redo anything unless you find an opportunity to do it better, for sure. But you don't have to redo the macro. It won't crash. It won't break. It won't be corrupted. It won't get corrupted. Have you had an Excel that got corrupted, that had important information? It's really frustrating, really, really annoying and really frustrating. So guess what? In this, you can have as many files as you may think of and can be reprocessed over and over again, and your data won't be deleted. Also, you can create a final file out of the entire instruction that I'm going to show you later on that actually can remain as a replication of your data, so you make sure that you have all your data backed up. That is something really cool that you cannot do with Excel without creating save as and copy 1, copy 2, copy 3, copy. No, this one would be a single file that would be changed over the time, and it's a save copy. Oh, sure, yeah. I would love to. So thank you very much for letting me know. The third thing is that you can use any statistical method that you may think of without requiring to struggle that much. You just use the method, take the column, it will give you the result. That's it. It's not like in Excel that you need to know, you need to use first the formula, afterward take the columns, right? And afterward see whether it works or not. And what happens if you didn't change the data type for one column? It may get lost. If you try to sum up something that is text, it's really annoying. And you don't notice until you actually perform the formula. Here, you let the column know how to behave, right? You tell the column, you know what? You are a number. You are a number. That's it. No. I want to be a string. No. Column. Take it easy. You are a number. I'm giving you that instruction. I'm not asking you, right? While Excel, you need to choose the entire column, right-click, format, and select the freaking format to apply it to that column. It's really, really tiring because sometimes it's hidden. If you have a filter or hidden, sometimes is that not applied to all of them, and so on and so forth. It's complex. In here, you don't have to worry about it. Afterward, you can use data visualization. You can use visualizations. It has a huge amount of visuals that actually some of them are 3D and some others are dynamic. Where actually, for instance, if you want to analyze a trend, you have an animation about how is that trend going on. I'm going to show you that. It's really cool. You're going to love it. And also the people actually, when you're presenting, if you show something like that, they're going to love your presentations. Believe me, I've done that. Afterward, automation and integration. For instance, you can have the same file over and over again. You just change the data and your visuals and your code will be evolving as you modify it. And also you have a lot of support. There's, as per being open source, you have a lot of community behind the scenes that you can ask questions, and many people will be more than happy to answer your questions. There are a lot of forums, there are a lot of places where you can ask questions. And guess what? It's for free. It's a code that you can download. It's an engine interface, it's a code that you can download and it's for free. You have all these capabilities without paying a single penny, right? Nevertheless, for instance, with other tools like Excel, you need to pay a Microsoft account, actually, else you won't be able to process it. Here, instead, if you have, for instance, Google Docs, and you want to perform these algorithms out of Google Docs, you can do that. And it's for free. Something really powerful. Okay. I'll avoid going through this. Instead, I'm going to show you the interface. Go for it.
I have a question,
Please
really.
shoot.
Is this can't be downloaded on a Mac?
It does. It can be downloaded to a Mac. Actually, it works better in Mac or Linux than
Okay,
in
but
Windows.
just because sometimes in the mic you have to have a Microsoft in order to download the programs, but if it doesn't, it's okay.
Yeah, no, this one works Mac, Linux, Microsoft, whatever you may think of. Actually, as part of the, I think I have it here. Let me show you. Here, for instance, you can download it for Linux, Mac OS, or Windows, and
Okay,
for free.
thank you.
Everything, all this is in the information that I showed you within the Canvas. For instance, actually, let me share this one with you. You need to download both. You need to download both. Let me put it into our chat here. You need to download R and RStudio. Are two different icons though. Once that you install it, you'll be able to see two different icons. One of them is the engine, which is this one, and RStudio is the interface. This one that has an R and a kind of oval behind, this is the engine, which actually contains all the codes, all the libraries and everything. This is the one that contains all that. And this one is the interface that we use for programming. So no worries. Everything it's in the documentation that you find. Else, if you have a question, just let me know and we can have a separate session I can guide you through. Don't worry about it. But this is a page where you download, you just install R and RStudio, install both, and you'll have whatever I showed you here. Crystal clear? Questions?
Yes.
Okay, that's a beauty. Okay, rather than showing you a presentation and all that mumble jumble, instead, I'm gonna show you how to use it, right? These are gonna be the basics. The first one, as I told, do you remember what's a variable? I told you a couple of minutes ago. I told you that it's a placeholder, correct? And a placeholder, as a placeholder, it can have any value, correct? Okay, how do we declare variables in R? First, you give a name to the variable. In this case, I'll give the classical X. There are two ways to declare variables. Which one is the best? Okay, I'll show you which one is the best. Okay. You use the minus then or less than sign. You use a dash. And this is the symbol of equality for R. You can use also the equal. However, the equal has its own problems. There you go. Oh my God, I need to change the language. There you go. You may wonder, why don't we use the equality? Because usually the equality is to compare two values, but to let you know whether those are equal or not. In other words, usually if you use this approach, it's not an equality, it's comparing, is X equal to 1? The code would let you know, I don't know, right? However, so that's why this one is not, you can use it. I mean, you can say it's X equal to 1, let's say, yes, right? But most of the time, this equality would be to compare two values only for comparison, not for assigning a value to a variable. That's why this one is not mostly used. the one that I suggest you to use is the one above, which is x minus then d dash and the 1. Let's run it. If you select it, there's a button at the top that says run, right? You click on run, and that's the way that you apply it. Below, you have the console. The console is where actually you can see the results of whatever you are running above. Question so far?
Professor, what is the difference with the assign? Because the other way that they were showing in the video is that you can use assign. Is there a difference against like the first method?
You can use the sign. Do you mean the equal sign?
No, assign, like the word, and then also like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, it's honestly, that as simpler as the better, right? Why? Because when you use too many lines of code, like for instance, this one, if you make a little mistake like that one, like instead of using assign properly spelled, you may get lost in a huge amount of lines, right? So in order to make it easier, it's much easier to identify the minus then and the dash than any other way. Like the equal, this one also is not being used like that. Why? Because we have so many lines of code. Like for instance, you can see here, in here, the equal is being used across multiple codes. And it can be really annoying when you try to identify an error in your code and you have the similar or the same value over and over and over again. It can take you so long to identify an error. This is more a unique value that would help you to identify whether you are not assigning the right value to a variable. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. So this is the way that I suggest you to make it easier to use. The minus then and the dash. Less than and the dash. Else, the equal, as you can see, I have too many codes here. As you can see, the equal is used across many different. So, I mean, if I want to use, and for instance, this is another logical equality. So in other words, this one must be true, right? So true is nothing but 0 or 1. So that's why we avoid using the equal, because the equal is being used so many purposes. And the dash, minus then and dash, is being used specifically to say this variable contains this value. That's it. Another way to present a result, you can type print, parenthesis, x. Okay, let me retype that. First, let's declare x. X, we are saying x is equal to 1, correct? We run it. Okay, we validate it. We can see it in the console. What if I forgot? Let's say that this is, let's see if it's S, it's Control L. Control L. What if I don't remember, right? Then in that case, I can use the print X and it's gonna give me, I'm telling it, okay, print whatever X has and show it into the screen. As you can see, it showed it into the console. Crystal clear? So good so far? If someone has a question, please let me know. Okay. Now we can declare different. Now let's declare. We are gonna use a lot something called vectors. A vector is nothing but a line, right? Like this one. Like this one is a vector, which is a sequence of values. Do you remember that we assign a value to X and to Y and so on and so forth in order to write the line, right? The line is nothing but a vector. What are the characteristics of the vector? It has values and it has a direction, correct? It's not the same to have a forecast that goes like this than a forecast that goes like this, right? Which one would you prefer? The one in the right-hand side or the one in the left?
The right.
In the right. However, it depends. What if this one, what if we are talking about cost? Maybe this one, right? But if we are talking about revenue, this one, and so on and so forth. So that's why vectors are important, because those have values and those have a trend of a direction, correct? That's why it's important to bear in mind that. So if we want to declare a vector, we can assign again any variable, let's say y. We use the same equality values. Equality.
Mr.
Yes.
R identifies and distinguishes between lowercase and uppercase.
No. 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 If you use capitals or lowercase for the code, it's exactly the same. Actually, that's a
And
good
for the
point.
variable assignments, I asked this because I made this exercise with lowercase
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, exactly.
Yeah. As you can see, it's case sensitive.
Okay, it's good. Okay.
If the variable it's in capitals, you need to make sure to use it in capitals. Else, if you declare it in capitals and you try to use it in lowercase, it won't work. But very good question. Very good question. So now for declaring a vector, something that I showed you here, you first use the equality sign. Afterward, you use a C and open parentheses. Open parentheses. Within, you can assign the values that you may think of. 1, 3, 5, 7. This is nothing but what I showed you here, this line. This line is that vector that we declared. However, in that case, we're including every single value that we had in that line. Instead, however, it has a direction. This is a vector. However, it doesn't have a direction yet, right? So only the combination of two vectors gives you what's the direction that it has. Because up to this point, we declare only a horizontal vector, right? Which has the values. This is the 1, right? As we can have it here, 1. Here we have the 3. Here we have the 5. And here we have the 7. This is what we are telling here. It's a vector which actually has a direction that goes between 1 and 7, right? This is a vector. So to declare it, we open a C, we open parentheses and give the values. We are writing a line. What if we want to get also statistical factors? What if we want to get the mean out of that? Okay, guess what? We can get the mean of all the values within that particular vector. For instance, here, mean, open parenthesis, and we apply the mean to every single value within. What is going to happen? As you can see, it gave us 4. It's 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 divided by 4, and it gave us the 4. So as you can see, we can use many different values. I mean, we can use, I don't know, what other factor you may think of. Perhaps sum, right? Another operation. And let's sum all the values that y contains. What is going to happen? It's going to sum them up and give us the result. As you can see, it's very simple to use, and you can have a lot of things out of that. What if you want to use something else? What if you want to use, let's say, now this time around, let's declare z, like the value equal to 3, and you want to use a different option. What if we want to say, okay, Fer, I want to sum x plus z. First, let's declare it, right? Declare it. Now, let's say x plus z. Guess what? Also works. So the great advantage of this is that you can use it as many fashion as you may think of, right? However, you may wonder, Fair, what if I want to declare something different? What if I want to declare a string? Also, you can declare strings. Strings is nothing but a name, for instance, my name. Let's declare my name. For instance, let me use equal. I could use, there you go. You need to use single quotes, and let's say Fernando, all right? Let me use another variable. Let me use variable f. Okay, let me run it. What if I want to invoke it? Guess what? Now f has a string value, which is my name, right? And so on and so forth. Also, we can, as I mentioned, also the vectors can be the same. We can declare a vector. Do you remember a vector, right? This is a vector. What if we want to declare a vector with strings? Let's give names. For instance, Fernando, right? It's gonna be one vector, one value of the vector. What if I declare my last name, which it's gonna be, here we go. This is the one. There we go. Bonilla. And the other one, it's gonna be my second last name, right? Which is comma. All of them must be separated by comma. So separated by comma. Okay. I need to buy another. Okay, here we go. Now I have a vector with all my names, my full name, right? Now you can see it declared for each and one of the positions. Position 1, it's my first name. Position 2, my first last name. And the third position is my second last name, and so on and so forth. Okay, question so far? I can see question marks in your forehead. Believe me, I can read minds.
I was like trying to run all the code, but
Mhm.
it just like runs 4 lines, right?
Yeah, for instance, if you are trying the code that I shared with you, you need to run line by line.
Okay. Yeah.
Line by line. I mean, only when you have a sequence in the code, for instance, here I do have a sequence. If I select it all and run it, it's gonna run line by line, as you can see here. Boom, 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 line by line. However, my suggestion is always run line by line in order to make sure that your code is behaving in the fashion that you are expecting.
Okay.
Right?
Thanks.
My pleasure. Like for instance, and something else. Actually, you know what? We have 7 minutes left, so I don't want to waste our time. That's a problem of the first class, that we need to spend a lot of time talking about myself and my boring life, that I need to focus on the code. So in order to avoid that, let me do something. Let me show you. Actually, I shared with you this code, right, with examples that contains all these examples. Maybe it's open somewhere else. Huh. Let me reopen it. Let me close this one. And let me reopen it. File, open. Here we go. Okay, this one contains all the examples. Like for instance, here are the vectors. We already talked about vectors. Guess what? You can sum vectors as well. For instance, in this case, I declare one vector, which is 6, 1, and 7, and I have another vector, which is 4, 5, and 6. This is gonna be positional sum. In other words, we'll sum position 1 plus position 1 of the next vector, position 2 plus the position 2 of the next vector, position 3 against the position 3 of the other vector. In other words, file new. What is going to happen? It has one vector here in parallel, and it's summing, let's say that we have x here and x here, x1 here, right? We have y1 and y1 here. What is going to happen? For instance, if x is 2 and x1 is 1, it's going to be 3. If y1 is 3 and y, actually I'll repeat it here, and y is, let's say 3 and y1 is 2, this is going to be 5 and so on and so forth. It's what we are doing here. We are summing equals x plus x, y plus y. It's what we are doing here. Actually, the explanation is above. So that's why if we run this, that means it's going to sum the vectors and it will give you one final vector, but out of that. So for instance, here it's giving us 10, which is 6 plus 4, 10. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 7, 13. As you can see, this is the final vector, right? So these are equivalent statements. For instance, you can either declare the C and have the vectors within, the factors within, or you can have only one vector, but split by commas. The comma will be one group. For instance, 1 and 4 would be this and this. So are equalities, right? The way that you can sum up, or you can use 5, 7, and 9, which are exactly the same, which is the sum of all of them. 1 plus 4 is 5, 2 plus 5 is 7, and 3 plus 6 is 9. Are the different ways that you can use the sum of vectors, right? And I suggest you to run them. As you can see, it will give you the results per each and one of the vectors. For instance, this is important. This is important. I would like to focus on only the important things in the remaining 4 minutes. Like for instance, if we declare a vector, right, in here, z has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 values within. Each and one of them can be retrieved based on position. I'll ask you something. If I put z, open brackets, and I tell position 3, which value is going to bring?
9.
9?
There you go. You are really good. You are really good. Exactly. With the brackets, with the squared brackets, we are specifying the position within the vector. There you go. What if we specify a range? If we specify z, open brackets, 3, colon, 4, what do you think that it's going to bring?
9 and 12.
Oh my God, you are awesome. Exactly. It's giving us the values between the position 3, which is this position, and the position 4, which is the 12. So it's going to give us the entire range between those two values, which are only 2. Crystal clear? So I'm sorry, someone has a question? Okay, beautiful. So for instance, what if we want to bring a bigger example? Let's say now it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to give us the entire list, right? So there you go. It's exactly the same. We are positioning the starting point and the end point of the object Z, Okay. Now we can use segregation. What if I have another object? Let's say we have another vector, right? Can we see we have 4, 5, and 6. However, we're using the greater than. So what we are saying here, bring me all the values within the vector that are greater than 4. Based on this value, which one is going to bring us?
The 5 and the 6.
The 5 and the 6. There you go. However, guess what? It's not telling us the values. It's giving us, it's evaluating one by one. It says 4 is greater than 4. False. It's equal. Right? 5 is greater than 4. True. 6 is greater than 4. True. This is called Boolean. Boolean means whether something is true or not. Right? Also, another option is that we can create, please run this in your own home. Why? Because matrices, we're going to explain them deeper, but the matrix is nothing but this. Let's say that we have an Excel. Okay. It's nothing but, imagine that you have an Excel and you have column 1, column 2, column 3, row 1, row 2, and row 3. This is positional values. So we have 1, 3, 6, 8, 9, 0. If I tell you, give me the value, column 1, row 1, it's going to be the number 1, correct? If I give you the column 2, row 2, will give me the 9. That's exactly what we can do here, or this is what we are doing with the vectors, right? With positional values, we let them know, give me the row 1. Okay, guess what? We can assign names. For instance, we can declare first, we say call names, and we provide a matrix, and we say, guess what? This is going to assign the name of the rows. Okay, I have not declared the matrix. I'm sorry. I declared the matrix here. Here, the matrix is a random matrix. It's values between 1 and 9, and it's giving me, it's going to be split by 3. So let me give you an example. Sorry. As you can see here, this is a positional value. The first one tells you the row, and the second tells you the column. For instance, 1, 1 is the number value 1. The 1, 2 is the value number 2. And the 1, 3, value number 3. The 2, 1 is the 4. The 2, 2 is the 5, and so on and so forth. Crystal clear? It's positional values, columns and rows. So in here, here, as you can see, the columns does not have any name, right? It's a random name. However, in this one, let's assign a name. And guess what? Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Now, rather than having that positional value, I assign a name to the column. That's why I say to the matrix, which is my matrix here, assign column names rather than the positional value, assign whatever I have in here based on the position. So in other words, position 1 will be C1. As you can see, position 1, C1, position 2, C2, position 3, C3, and so on and so forth. What is going to happen with the rows? It's going to be the same thing, right? But this time around will be in vertical order. Okay, let's do that. And let's run the same variable. As you can see, now rather than having positional values, now it has a name depending upon the position, right? So afterward, we can row sum, for instance, perform a row sum. As you can see, now it provided a sum of each and one of the rows, which is 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3, 6. R2, 5 plus 4 plus 6, 15. 7 plus 8 plus 9, 24. Correct? So please run each and one of the comments that I shared with you. That is going to help you to give you an idea about how the matrices work. Now you are tired. It will be difficult to pay full attention. So please take a look to the code that I shared with you, and just let me know in case you have a question. Just in order to finalize this, let me show you. There you go. Please, Brenda, go for it.
And where do you share this information?
Very good question.
By email, or it is on the modules of the Canvas?
It's in the modules in the Canvas.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
for instance, here it's announcement. I'm sorry, it's in module. I believe it's in assignments. I put it exercise 1. No, I'm sorry, announcements. I put it in announcements. Oh, no, I didn't put it in announcements. Huh, where did I put it? I think assignments. Let me take a look.
It's in the email. Well, I got it from the email.
You got it from the email. Yeah, you know what? I put it in the email. You're totally right. Either way, I'll make them available here within the assignment, so you have it handy. For instance, you'll use that code that I shared with you, but let me put it into a placeholder here. Maybe as part of, you know what? I'll put it as part of this assignment in order to make sure that you have it handy, right? So you don't have to worry about repeating everything over and over again. So here, code used in points, right? So now this is the final thing before wrapping up for the day. Is there any questions so far? By the way, this is the first deliverable that you need to deliver by next week. So every single deliverable is in Teams and needs to be delivered by next week. By next week, I mean, let's say Sunday night to give you a full week to deliver prior to class, right? So I have enough time, lead time to grade your assignments and make sure that you have everything I need. So this assignment is for next week. Is there any questions so far?
I have a question regarding that. So if I go to the task for the first class, it says that it's available until January 8th at midnight. So I guess after that it will close.
Oh, let me take a
You
look
need
to
to say
that.
something there?
Yeah, thank you for that. Let me, assignment 1, let me put in here. Edit. Actually, it has no due date. It's interesting. I didn't put any due date.
I think we're looking at two different things because if I click, like Emmanuel, if I click on assignments, I see something that says session 1 task. But I think it's not what you're showing us here that says class exercise.
Session,
Like,
oh
scroll
yeah,
down.
there, yeah, are two different things. The first one, this is the session 1. Okay. This one, for instance, these are the instructions that you need to follow. So these are the assignments that are kind of mandatory prior to class, right? So please try to accomplish them, but the most important ones are the ones that actually are come as class exercises that are published already. These are the most important.
Okay.
Class exercises. Yeah, the assignments are important, of course, because are part of the cadence of your class, right? But the ones that are gonna be the final as part of your final grades are the ones that says class exercises. Please.
Okay. Okay,
Because
thank you.
it's where actually you are applying the knowledge that I'm giving to you. Thank you for asking this question, though. For sure, please accomplish the upcoming ones, but the most urgent ones are the ones that are says class exercises that need to be accomplished by next Sunday. Either way, I'm gonna include that as part of the announcements, just to give you time to ask questions, go through that, and so on and so forth. Is there any other questions so far?
Yes, I have a question, sorry.
Please shoot. No, go for it.
Okay, so just to sum it up, so the class exercise, the one that you just showed us, that's due when? Sorry, Sunday?
Sunday.
Sunday, okay.
Yeah,
And then
11:59 with 59 millisecond, 199 milliseconds, and so on and so forth.
okay,
Yeah.
and it's individually or is it in teams?
Okay, very good question. Please do it in teams, but deliver it individually.
Okay.
Let me rephrase that. Yeah. That's pretty much the phrase. Do it in teams, but deliver it individually. Why? Because each one of you must have their own grades in your own profile. That's why I'll create the placeholder individually, but you can do it in teams. But you need to specify which teams you are working with, of course. Crystal clear?
Yes, and we specify that through email with you?
No, actually, I'll create here teams. So just let me know how many team members you have per each team, just to create the number of groups.
Well,
Four
I'll give
or
an
five
example. We
people?
have 4. Uh-huh.
4 people. Okay, so that means that I need to create 5 teams. I'll create 6 teams just in case someone were kind of running there somewhere. Okay. Please make sure to sign up by your own. And limit of people, I'll put 6 just in case, just for the there you go. There you go. So the teams are now created, so you can sign up for each one. Depending, please organize yourself and say, you know what, we are team 1, let's join, and so on and so forth. Right? Let's make it simple. Or send me the list. Also, if you have trouble with that, just send me the list and I can assign them. It's up to you. Just want to make your life easier. Questions? I expect to be, this is the only class that we're finishing late. That's my expectation. Usually we must finish exactly by 9 p.m. That's my always my focus, right? So this is longer. Why? Because it requires some introductions, explanations, so on and so forth. But the upcoming ones, it's intended to start exactly sharp 6:30 and finish by 9 p.m. 10. If there are no further questions, thank you so much, everybody.
sir.
Yes, please go for it.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yes, please shoot.
So for next Sunday, we need to upload only exercise 1 or would
No,
be
1 and 2.
1 and 2?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Unfortunately for you, your class has been, it used to be a class per week, but this time around, they put it all together into 1 month, but it's the new nature. Yeah, but both assignments are related to the ones that the code that I'm giving you. So yeah, 1 and 2 must be delivered by Sunday, please. So that's why I
Okay.
suggest you start working on assignment 1. So once by next class, you'll have good progress of assignment 1, so you can finish by Sunday. Crystal clear?
Okay. Thank you. Yep.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? If you don't have any questions, feel free to leave the session. Either way, we will share the video with you so you can recap whatever information you may need. And feel free to send me an email in case you have any questions. I'll open forums also for any questions that you may have in order to make you feel that I'm guiding you through hand by hand about to achieve these goals and to make you feel that I'm here for you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Have a wonderful evening. See you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Take care.
Bye.
Have a
Have a
great
good one.
night.
Have a good
Enjoy.
night.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Take care. Thank you very much. Okay, I stopped the recording.